Hi, I'm Cindy Bertram. Thanks for joining me today on Good Ship Happens. And yes, at the starting of the brand new year, 2024, we have a lot of new ships coming out. I think there's at least 10. And one that's actually sailing right now on the Atlantic coming to Miami is actually Icon of the Seas. That's Royal Caribbean's newest ship, and it's the largest ship they've ever built. Okay. But what's good too is she is currently sailing right now. She won't be doing her christening naming ceremony until I think it's December 21st. Okay. But what's good too is with Icon of the Sea, she's got different things she'd be providing guests on board the ship. As mentioned, she is actually ahead of her inaugural cruise, but sailing over across the Atlantic cruise ocean right now. And she's actually built in Finland. Right now she's sailing, and her arrival date was supposed to take place actually, I think, maybe in January 1st. It's a couple of days ago, heading to the port of Ponce, Puerto Rico for a technical visit. And then she's going to be sailing later on with her naming ceremony on December 23rd. I'm sorry, that's going to be January 23rd. And then she will be sailing on a series of week-long cruises to the Caribbean and the Bahamas, including ports of Cozumel, St. Martin, St. Thomas, and a perfect day, Coco Cay. And what they're doing is, I mentioned this before, but they've got a godfather christening the ship. Yes, cruise lines do have godparents. They actually are the official parent of the ship. It's a tradition in the cruise industry, but usually over the years we've always had godmothers women. But over the years also, maybe in the past not 15 years, we've actually had godfathers christen ships, which is great too. And but Icon of the Seas should be christened by Lionel Messi. He's an Argentinian soccer superstar. He's going to be godfather of Icon of the Seas. And what's good too is Royal Caribbean is giving him a really, really contemporary title, not just being a godfather. They're calling him the icon of the icon. And what's interesting about Messi is the fact he was actually the Times 2023 Athlete of the Year, and he was actually, after leading Argentina's national team into the World Cup title 2022, and he really transformed into Inter Miami and their Major League Soccer in 2023. So Lionel Messi is going to be the godfather, and the naming ceremony is going to take place on January 23rd. But right now, Icon Seas is actually sailing over right now across the Atlantic Ocean and doing different things first. Okay, so keep that in mind, because once again, even though it's their largest ship ever built in the whole cruise industry, she's got different neighborhoods, different areas, and once again, you can kind of pick and choose what you want to really experience and explore. And yes, I definitely would like to maybe see her sometime too. That's really good too. So keep that in mind too. Something else is we've got, something came up too, of course. We just went through New Year's Eve, and of course, something very interesting that maybe you're not aware of, I think is a good example of Good Ship Happens, yes, is with the New Year's Eve ball in Times Square, which took place on December 31st. Carnival Cruise Line Corporation CEO Josh Weinstein actually flipped the light switch, okay, which lighted the New Year's Eve ball. And they've actually been, Carnival Corporation has actually been the official cruise line sponsor of the Times Square New Year's Eve. And what was kind of fun to note about too was actually their bookings have already been up. And it's really, really good because, Josh Weinstein mentioned to investors that during their fourth quarter call, that they saw all-time bookings during the 2 weeks around Black Friday, of course, and Cyber Monday. And right now, this book position really shows them at a better position to control pricing this year's wave season, is what he mentioned too. But the point is, I guess you didn't realize that when we talk about the New York Eve's ball, yes, Carnival Corporation actually is the one that actually sponsors it. They sponsor it. And what's good too is Josh Weinstein, who's the CEO of the Carnival Corporation, actually flipped the switch. Yes. But it's good to see cruise bookings going up like crazy, which is good because once again, We talk about wave season. That's really Aries time when people try to book cruises. But once again, too, is we've seen a big surge as far as bookings more than ever now. Of course, new ships coming out are really exciting too because it really drives really interest too. With Icon, of course, I've mentioned other ships coming out too, which I'll cover more about too. One example is the Explorer Journeys. Okay, they launched their first ship in 2023 in the summertime, and they've got their Explorer 2 coming out this year, 2024. And what they're doing is they're changing some plans for the Explorer 1 as far as her itinerary. Okay, but what they're doing is, I know that with the Explorer 1, which is now sailing from April to November of 2025, Explorer is going to sail in the Mediterranean, the islands of the Aegean Sea, and the Dalmatian coast. The Explorer 1 is going to be actually embarking on her maiden voyage from Barcelona on August 12th of 2024, so in the summertime, which is good. Then she'll continue to sail in the Western Mediterranean until November of 2024. Then she'll cross the Atlantic Ocean, and she's going to be sailing on Caribbean cruises during the winter months, which is great. So if maybe you prefer to sail on Explorer 2, you can actually enjoy her sailings in the Caribbean during the winter months. So keep that in mind too. And then I know that Explorer 2 is going to be doing some again in 2025 back in the Mediterranean, and the wintertime of 2025 through 2026. Should be spending some time back in the Eastern Caribbean. So definitely keep that in mind, because once again, with Explorer Journeys, their mindset is the ocean life to sea, which is great. They're smaller luxury cruise line ships, which is great. And they've got 4 coming out, I believe. It's good to know about new ships coming out too, because that's really, really fun too. Something else that just was announced too is another ship that actually debuted in the late fall was actually Silversea Cruises. What they did though is they actually did the actual naming event of their new Silver Nova in Fort Lauderdale, and they actually had the naming ceremony take place actually on January 4th, so yesterday, and it really was a milestone celebration during her main call in Florida. And they had their godmother, Nina Compton, as godmother. She's a chef, but she was the godmother of the Silver Nova in her naming ceremony, which took place yesterday. I've written about Silver Nova. She sounds like a phenomenal ship too, and it really is. With Silversea Cruises, they're really luxury, beautiful ships. I wrote about Silver Nova when she first came out, like late fall. And it was great because they did some sailings they did the official naming ceremony yesterday in Miami, which is great. And what they're doing is, of course, with they really are more focusing on their cultural experience too. Cultural discovery is what they refer to themselves to as, and also it's really the same year that Silversea Cruises celebrates their 30th anniversary. Yes, so it really is a perfect balance for Silversea Cruises to christen, officially named the Silver Nova, in their 30th year anniversary, which is great too. And of course, they actually have a female president, Barbara Muckelman, who's actually president of Silversea Cruises. She's fantastic. I've actually talked to her, interviewed her, because I'm updating my book about women cruise line presidents. I had a chance to talk with her back earlier in 2023. But with Silversea Cruises and also the Silver Nova, she really refines her heritage to really focus on the future of ultra luxury cruise travel. And they're really, really environmentally focused, of course. And she really introduces a new take on luxury at sea. She's got unprecedented use of glass on board the ship, and they reimagine their pool deck, whatever. And also, she's got a high rate of staff members, 2 guests, and she hosts up to 728 guests And there are 13 different suite categories, which is great. It's actually the largest variety of suite categories that Silversea Cruises has. And really, each suite offers guests the use of a private veranda. And she actually had originally departed on her main voyage from Venice on August 12th, 14th, actually 2023, and then had her first naming ceremony, which took place, of course, yesterday, January 4th. And now she's undertaking her grand voyage. And it's going to be her grand voyage, South America, 2024, to where she'll be calling on 638 different destinations in 18 different countries over 71 days. Of course, I know people can probably take certain parts of that first voyage to South America voyage. So keep that in mind too, because it's fun to see new ships coming out in different ways too. That's one of the ships I mentioned before too. But once again, even though she came out in August of 2023, she actually did some sailings and was actually doing her naming ceremony yesterday in Miami. So definitely keep it in mind too, because it's really luxury, but a different way to explore luxury too. Something else I think is kind of fun too is I mentioned different cruise lines, and sometimes they partner with different experts. And one, a lot of times they might have certain chefs. Well, one thing that's really, I think, very fun, I ran across this earlier this week, was actually with Cunard Line. They've got their new ship, their Queen Anne, coming out, I think, later this summer. And with Cunard Line, they've been around several years, but with Cunard Line, they only have, I think, 3 ships. I think this is their 4th ship, the Queen Anne. And what they did was they just announced a really fantastic extended partnership with 2 Michelin star chef Michel Roux. And he's going to bring back an exclusive series of, it's called Le Garroche Residency at Seas this year. As far as Michel Roux, what's fun is 2-star Michelin chef. And the fun thing is, I want to share with this to you today, is the fact that I actually have met Michel Roux myself back when I was working with a different cruise line. And I met him. It was back on December 1st of, I think it was 2003, maybe, perhaps. But had a chance to finally meet him because he worked with a different cruise line. And actually, it was 2001. I met him in December. He was actually working with Celebrity Cruises. Had a chance to be on Celebrity Cruises for a cruise vacation. But I met him, and he actually had his book, which I got a copy. Here's a copy, of course, Michel Roux, Desserts, A Lifetime Passion. And he autographed it for me, too. His cuisine is actually fantastic. And just different chapters in the book with different recipes, too, which is great. So, and what he did was he actually autographed it and said, happy booking, best wishes, and enjoy, which is great, too. So once again, what's nice is Michel Roux is now in a new partnership with Cunard Line. And as mentioned, his cuisine is fantastic. And what they're doing is, with Michel Roux, he's going to close this popular restaurant in London, but he has over 4 different Le Garroche residencies, with the Queen Anne and then the Queen Mary too. Also, he's actually creating an exclusive gala menu for the Queen Anne's Queen's Grill and Princess Grill restaurants, as well as a new Golden Lion menu. And with the Queen Anne, she's going to actually launch in May of this year, which is great. So this is just an exclusive series that's going to be a partnership with the Norwegian Seafarer Council, Roux mentioned. It's not really, he said, it's really a privilege to actually bring Le Garroche to Cunard's Queens. And he's got a partnership with the Queen Mary too, which is already sailing for Cunard Line. She'll be kicking off on June 2nd with Le Garroche, and then also different things too. And also what's good too is, and they mentioned too that Michel Roux is going to be delivering another intimate takeover at Le Garroche on board the Queen Anne when she departs Southampton on August 11th, and this is going to be an exclusive dining experience that caters to 50 guests per night too. So it's fun to know about this too, because once again, Michel Roux is such a fantastic, amazing chef, and he's a 2 Michelin star chef. So definitely keep in mind too, because once again, having the privilege of first meeting him and experiencing cuisine a long time ago, I'm really excited about how he's got a new partnership with Queen Anne, and that is with Conard Line. Going back to the Queen Anne, of course, she's larger than their last 2 queen ships. They call them their queen ships, and she is going to have about 2,996 guests. Actually, 2,996 berth, carries about 900 more guests, and they have more of like a contemporary type spirit. They've got some new things they're introducing in the Queen Anne. It's going to be a 2-tack wellness studio. Restaurants, of course, specialized in Italian, Japanese, Indian steak, seafood. Also an intimate entertainment venue called Bright Lights Society. So definitely keep in mind, because that's kind of fun to talk about too, with new ships coming out. Something else coming out too is going to be, besides Icon of the Seas, something else, another ship coming out this year later on for Royal Caribbean is going to be Utopia of the Seas. That's Royal Caribbean's another new ship. It's their Oasis class ship, and it's going to be actually debuting 3 and 4 night sailings, which is going to be offering, of course, on board. They've got 5 pools, a poolside food truck. Yes, poolside food truck. I don't think the food truck's going to drive. Keep in mind. And they've got a new Pesky Parrot Caribbean Tiki Bar, which sounds fun. They've got their Ultimate Yabas Dry Slide with new Zoom booster rollers and transparent racing windows. Also, they've got for dining, they've got a new Locomotive Journey immersive experience. They've got Giovanni's Italian Kitchen and Wine Bar. It's been 2 levels with a cantilevered terrace. They've got Azumi in the Park, which provides a takeaway window in the Central Park neighborhood, which is gorgeous too. And of course, another one coming out too is, as mentioned, we've got the Explorer 1, which came out, but Explorer 2 is coming out with Explorer Journeys. And she's a twin sister ship of the Explorer 1. And she has 3 outdoor pools, a 4th that's got a retractable glass roof. They've got 64 cabanas, 9 restaurants on board, and really beautiful indoor-outdoor spa and wellness facilities too. And I mentioned before, we've got another ship coming out too with Disney Cruise Line. The Disney Treasure is coming out. It's a sister ship of the Disney Wish, which came out in 2022. And with the Disney Treasure, she's featuring some really first things that they got on board their ships, and kind of tying in the Disney Parks attractions. As I mentioned, they've got the Haunted Mansion Parlor, a bar. And they got their 1,274 seat Walt Disney Theater, which is going to have new original Broadway style productions, including The Tale of Moana, and also Plaza de Coco, which is a new family theme Mexican restaurant based on the Pixar film Coco. And another new ship coming out this year too is Virgin Voyages, the Brilliant Lady. This is the 4th final Lady Ship series. And with the Brilliant Lady, she's following, they launched, of course, the Scarlet Lady first, and they launched Resilient Lady and the Valiant Lady. Originally, the Brilliant Lady was supposed to be coming out in 2024, but got delayed. But once again, she's coming out this year, which is great. So definitely keep in mind too, because with the Virgin Voyage ships, I had a chance to actually see the Scarlet Lady when she was actually debuting in Miami in 2021 in the fall. It's just a tour for about 8 hours, which is great. But with Virgin Voyages, remember they are adults only. To sail on Virgin Voyages, you have to be at least 18 years and older. No kids allowed. But once again, what's really nice about that type of a ship too is they don't have the regular main dining rooms. They have different options for dining, different options for entertainment. and the entertainment was phenomenal, but also the dining choices were wonderful too. You got a chance to pick and choose the restaurants. You booked them in advance once they were included, so it wasn't like going into one main dining room every night. You had a chance to pick and choose, and they were included. And it was just really, really fun. One of the fun places I went to too was an ice cream parlor on board, and the ice cream parlor on board the Scarlet Lady was called Lick Me Till. Yes, Lick Me Till. The ice cream was just phenomenal. Little tastings you could try, but I always liked it was good to finally experience Lick Me Till with the phenomenal ice cream they had aboard the ship too. So definitely keep that in mind because, like I said, with the Brilliant Lady, she's coming out later on this year, and she's actually sister ship of the Resilient Lady, the Valiant Lady, and Scarlet Lady. I'll be sharing more about her a little bit later on too. Also, what's good too is I know I've got a lot of ships coming out too. One is with Viking. Viking Cruise Line's been around for a long time. They've got their Viking Vela coming out, and it's their 11th series of ships. And it's slightly larger than their other ships. That's coming out later in this year too. And with Silver Sea Cruises, they've got their Silver Ray, and it's a sister ship Silver Nova, which was just officially named yesterday in Miami. But with the Silver Nova, she's going to be debuting, of course, this year too. And she has what they're doing is it's similar, I think, to the Silver Nova. She is going to be operated by LNG and battery power at sea, also, which is great. Really to eliminate emissions, of course, at sea too, and import too. Also, she's got a lot of glass she'll be using, as well as their marquee alfresco dining venue, and of course, the Ocean View Salt Lab, the chef's table on the high deck too, which is great. So that's another new ship coming out later on this year too. But it's fun to share about the new ships coming out too. As mentioned, we've got something else came out too is Ritz Carlton. They've been around for a couple years, and Ritz Carlton has their second yacht debuting. It's called the Elma, and she is their second yacht and also the first of their two LNG powered new builds. With the Elma, she measures 46,750 gross registered tons compared to her previous sister ship, the Everima, which was 24,000 gross registered tons. I know that with the Elma, she's going to have 456 berths, up from 298 berths that are currently on their sister ship, the Everima. Also have more selection as far as top suites and terraces. The marina area is going to be expanded with a new mezzanine feature too, which is great. So definitely keep in mind too is because with Ritz Carlton yacht collection, they might not be well on, but they did officially start. Got delayed a little bit when COVID-19 hit, but once again, it's another ship to definitely keep in mind too. Also, what's good too, as mentioned, we've got some new designs too. But also, what's good too is half of these new ships coming out are actually LNG powered, liquefied natural gas. 5 of these are liquefied natural powering the Sun Princess, the Utopia of the Seas, the Ilma, Silver Ray, and Disney Treasure are actually going to be powered by liquefied natural gas, LNG. And as far as the shipbuilders, the big one is, of course, Fincantieri. They're over in Italy. They are actually leading the way with 5 of the scheduled new builds. And then we've got some other ones that are being delivered from other shipbuilder groups too, but definitely keep in mind too, because there's a lot of excitement about new ships coming out, and ways to really explore different fun things as far as the cruise industry. Something else that just came up too this week was we talk about what cruise lines are known for too, and one thing that I think is phenomenal too is cruise lines are really, really working hard to get to that liquefied natural gas and being emission free by 2050. The Cruise Lines International Association, which is the official cruise line of the cruise industry itself, too, been around for a long time, has really set a deadline for ships to be liquefied natural gas and also emissions free by 2050. But cruise lines are really jumping into this on their own in very good ways. A good example was the 5 new ships coming out this year, as mentioned. 5 out of these 10 new ships are actually being powered by liquefied natural gas. But also, something else that came up too is with MSC Cruises. What they've done is they are family owned by the MSC Group. Been around for a while. The MSC Group actually is family owned. They actually have a container shipping company around for a long time, very successful. Also got MSC Cruises. They got their MSC Foundation. Plus, with the MSC Group, they also own Explore Journeys. But one thing that MSC Cruises is doing is they just came up with a new brand, how they're branding themselves too, because theirs is now being pushed out is for a greater beauty. They're really wanting to share more about how people can actually discover the beauty of cruising. Yeah, and this is just announced because they're going to be doing their marketing campaign for greater beauty. And it encourages audiences to really discover the beauty of cruising in a more conscious way with respect to the ocean and the planet. And beauty, which is represented in the film by Larry Voice, really invites the audience to think about this, which is great. And they just made this big announcement yesterday. And what they're doing too is they want to make sure that their guests can really find ways to immerse themselves in world's destinations, into nature, and also the wonderful experiences on and off on board. And what they do is they just filmed a TV spot. It was filmed on board their MSC World Explorer, which is their fleet's newest ship to be first ship to be powered by liquefied natural gas. Also, the MSC World Explorer does offer experiences that tie in the company's European heritage. Guests enjoy international dining. They've got world-class entertainment. They've got award-winning family programs. Also, the latest user-friendly technology too. And with MSC Cruises, they're really, really firmly committed to achieving zero greenhouse gas emissions for its marine operations by 2050. And they're working that so very, very hard too. And definitely more about this too. It just goes back to with MSC Cruises. They're actually, what people might not be aware of, is actually the world's 3rd largest cruise brand, as well as the market leader when it comes to Europe, South America, the Gulf region, and Southern Africa too. Also, they are the fastest growing cruise line, global cruise brand with a strong presence in the Caribbean, North America, and the Far East markets too. With MSC Cruises, they are actually headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland, and they're family owned. And they're actually the world's leading and privately held shipping conglomerate, which with over 300 years of maritime heritage. Okay, MSC Cruises is their contemporary brand. I've got a modern fleet of 22 vessels, and what they're doing is prepared to really go to 23 cruise ships by 2025, and with options for 6 more vessel orders in place through 2032. And with MSC Cruises, they really offer enriching, immersive, and safe cruise experiences. And what's good too is I know that what they did was in August of 2020, MSC Cruises really implemented a new comprehensive and robust health and safety protocol, and they became the first major cruise line to return to sea after we went through the issues with coronavirus COVID-19. Also, MSC Cruises is really committed to environmental stewardship too, and in this case, they've got their long-term goal of achieving net zero emissions by operations by 2050. Also, what they do too is they've got their MSC Foundation, and they do wonderful things there also too, because once again, with their foundation, they do wonderful things with the foundation. For instance, what they've been doing too is they're working on different ways to kind of rebuild coral trees, and with their private island in the Caribbean, it's Ocean Cay MSC Marine Reserve, what they did was they were actually building a coral lab there too. I've talked about that previously, but with MSC Cruises, they're doing some wonderful things that people might not be aware of. But once again, the cruise industry itself, as far as cruise lines, are really working forward, progressing forward on being zero net emissions by 2050. And many are actually doing that right now. So that's really a wonderful thing to do too. Once again, with MSC Cruises, the new global brand is going to be, they just launched it actually, Far Greater Beauty too. But it goes back to what they're doing too. With MSC Cruises, their ships are very, very beautiful. And also, one thing they've got too is on board their ships, they've got a special area, and it's called the MSC Yacht Club. With the MSC Yacht Club on board several MSC Cruises ships, what they do is it's a special area, and you pay more for it, obviously, too. But you've got balcony staterooms. It's key card access. You've got your own concierge. You've got your own butler for each of your staterooms. You've got your own private dining restaurant, which is complimentary. You've got your own pool area, which is beautiful. Other things, too, when I had a chance to really experience this myself, it was probably about 2014, maybe. I had a chance to actually sail in the MSC Yacht Club. And I tell people, after experiencing it myself, it was like dying going to cruise heaven. It was phenomenal. And they've got these on their newest ships too, which is great. And they've got, you still have access to the rest of the ship, but once again, too, if you want to just dine in your own dining room, which is great. It's very luxury, fantastic, beautiful views, your own private pool area. You've got your own sail lounge, which is gorgeous. But the pool area, just for you, your family, whatever, whoever's in your staterooms too, and just fantastic experience too. But you still have access to the rest of the ship. Of course, all the shows, the other restaurants, you can kind of pick and choose. But it was just a great, great, great experience to actually be able to experience the MSC Yacht Club myself. And when I came back, I wrote about it. And the title of my article was called Inside the MSC Yacht Club. Yes, the butler did it. On board the MSC Yacht Club, when I was on the ships back in 2014, I was going to dinner. In my case, the restaurant they had on that ship, it was the Divine, I think, was actually, they, for some reason, just put our restaurant, Lemieux, on the other side of the ship. I was going to meet my companion at Lemieux for dinner, and I just got on my balcony stateroom. My butler sees me, and he asked me where I was going. I said, well, I'm walking over to Lemieux. He says, I'll walk you over there. I said, well, I know how to get there. He said, no, I'm going to walk you over there. But it's beautiful. Of course, what they've done now, too, is with their private restaurant, they include it in their MSC Yacht Club area itself, too, which is great. But they just did amazing things, too. And the ships were beautiful. The entertainment was fantastic. And once again, they have beautiful family areas, too, which is great, too. Because once again, they do embrace families, but also just other areas, too, which is great. As far as other ships coming up, too, I think I mentioned this last week in a previous episode, was that with American Cruise Lines, they have plans to build 5 more ships in the next 2 years. And with American Cruise Lines, they are, of course, family owned, and they are actually the biggest U.S. river and coastal cruise ship line in the world. And it's going to get bigger. They actually have currently have 5 more new ships under construction, and they're scheduled for delivery on the next 2 years. And these are in addition to the 3 ships that American Cruise Lines actually took delivery of earlier in 2023. These 5 ships they're building right now are going to be for the U.S. market, and they're going to include a mix of their American riverboats, and also they call them 2 other ones are going to be their coastal cats. And what they're doing is they focus on sailing on the Mississippi and Columbia rivers, of course. And what's good too is with American Queen's modern riverboats, they're actually the biggest fleets on the waters. And they really specialize in river and small ship cruising for over 50 years now. As mentioned, they're family owned, and they really have the vast majority of American Cruise built ships during the time. And the company itself, they operate the only fleet of 100% U.S. registered riverboats and cruise ships in the world. And they're owned by the Robertson family. And Charles Robinson is the present CEO. And he said after several years of building the coastal fleet, we're once again beginning to focus on rolling out the U.S. river cruise capacity too. These ships coming out are being built by the Chesapeake Shipbuilding in Salisbury, Maryland, which is a sister company to American Cruise Lines. And they're going to be offering more details about these ships coming out later on, first quarter 2024. Also, American Queen Lines, they offer cruises into 35 different states, and they explore history, the spirit, culture of the United States. And what they're doing is in 2024, American Cruise Lines is going to be actually operating 19 ships, each accommodating just 90 to 180 passengers, more than 50 domestic itineraries. So you can actually check out the cruise line itself. Go to just American Cruise Lines to learn more about them too, but they're a great company. But I love what they're doing too, because once again, it's a way to really explore the U.S. if you want to the waterways, because they're great ways to kind of tie in history, things like that, which is really, really fun too. So definitely keep that in mind, because it's just another great way to really, I think about what's going on as far as cruise industry options too. We've got new ships, of course, coming out in 2024, of course. I mentioned about 10 right now. Also, what's good too is that other areas that you can actually experience too. I talked about the American Cruise Lines, which are really focusing on sailing on the U.S. waterways. But something that also you want to keep in mind too is if you're thinking about maybe going to Europe, another option would be think about taking a European river cruise, because cruise lines that we got different cruise lines that specialize in that. One is AMA Waterways. They've been around for about 22 years. They are family owned, fantastic owners. I know the co-owners are fantastic people. AMA Waterways, and AMA, by the way, means love. AMA Waterways actually offers beautiful ships sailing, of course, in the European waterways. Plus, they're going to be offering one later on this year, I think, in South America. I'll share more about that later on. But what's fun too is with Rudy Schreider's co-founder, co-owner, he actually was a former architect. He's got a fantastic story. What happened was he was actually an architect and came to the U.S., started doing different things, and he got a job working for another company. Actually went down to South America. They actually built a raft on the Columbia River, came back, and he relocated to the United States. And then he actually helped some river cruise lines get started. And then he actually moved out to the West Coast, had discussions with another person who actually owned a big tour company too, and they started to work on AMA Waterways, mapping things out, and they officially started AMA Waterways, I think in 2003. Very successful. What's good too is Rudy Schreiner is known as the architect of the river cruise industry. He's helped other river cruise lines start before he decided to start AMA Waterways himself with some partners too. But they do some phenomenal things, and once again, it's another way to really, really experience Europe, because once again, we got different options out there too. I'm mentioning on Waterways because I've been having the pleasure of knowing their founders for a while. But what's good too is, once again, if you're thinking about going to Europe, maybe for a family trip, one of the issues I think people run into too is sometimes if you're going to Europe, well, you have to see different areas, you have to change hotels. Well, the good news is if you decide to maybe take a river cruise line itself over in Europe, the good news is you can actually then the ship serves as your hotel. And so the river ship actually takes you to the different places, the cities you want to see in a very, very customized private way too, which is great. So once again, it's not like you have to unpack, go to another hotel, repack, move to another hotel. It's a great way to really see different areas of Europe. I have not done one yet. I do want to do that. We've got different river cruise lines over there. So keep that in mind. AMA Waterways is one. Another one is Uniworld. We've got several different river cruise lines over in Europe too. So definitely keep that in mind, because it's another way to really, really, I think, experience Europe in a new way without having to worry about changing hotels. And then you get to your hotel, you unpack, get a chance to experience that area. You have to repack, go to another hotel. But like I said, the good thing is the river cruise line ships over in Europe, they serve as your hotels. And they offer different areas too. I know another area that's very popular too is Europe. Besides Europe is Egypt. And we're seeing more interest, of course, with South America. Also, different places in the world too. Another area that's really, really grown, but in a very, very, I think, sustainable way is with people and cruise lines going to Antarctica. They keep the capacities of those ships down to fewer people. And once again, the ships are very small. They're built specially built because when you talk about Antarctica, the big thing is you're dealing with very, very cold weather. So you have to make sure that the ships that go there have been built especially for that too, and they are. So definitely keep that in mind too, because once again, I think it's fun to really remember that there are options out there more than ever as far as cruising. I think one reason that maybe I want to bring up the Antarctica thing is because we've got different cruise lines that go there. Ocean Voyages is one. Another one I think is Hurtigruten, and there's some other ones too. But once again, they are small, small ships, specially designed ships. They actually sail there, and it really goes back to, I think, after going through the messy situation with coronavirus COVID-19 and people could not travel, I think now more than ever, people really have a mindset. They want to see different places of the world, places I've not been to. Maybe I don't like the word bucket list, but once again, it goes back to I think people going through COVID-19, having worked from home, stayed home, now realize that you really want to travel different places in the world and experience those places, beautiful places, and then create those memories of a lifetime because that's so important today more than ever. And I think what's good too is we need that more than ever, and it's just I think good. Something else that, as far as some other ships coming out too, is one cruise line too that's relatively new is Riverside Luxury Cruises. What they're doing is they've got their Riverside Debussy. She's going to be offering more than 40 departures this year in 2024 with inaugural cruise sailing from Brussels to Amsterdam on March 23rd. So just a couple of months. And the 6-day itinerary will take guests to Ghent, Middelburg, Willemstad, Rotterdam. And what's great too is with their Riverside Debussy and also the Riverside Mozart, Riverside Ravel, they actually dock daily in a new city. So guests can actually walk off and immediately experience the beauty and the culture, which in inland, which most cruise ships cannot reach to. That's kind of good to know too, because once again, with Riverside's luxury cruises, they offer itineraries that include the Rhine, the Rhone, and the Danube rivers on board their Riverside Debussy, their Riverside Mozart, and also Riverside Roselle, and also guests on board can apply their credit to indulge in a complimentary spa treatment, food, wine experiences in their vintage room, or a private shore excursion too, which is great. And I know that they were offering some special shipboard credits, but definitely keep that in mind too. And Riverside Luxury Cruises is doing some phenomenal things, and definitely keep it in mind. Look more from Riverside Cruises, but I had a chance to meet their CEO a couple times, Jen Hallbarth, which is great. But they really provide some really, really wonderful experiences. So take a look at Riverside Luxury Cruises sometime you have a chance to, because that's really another option to think about too. Also, as mentioned, you've got a lot of growth at different cruise ports, but also, I think I mentioned this last week, is we actually saw Port Galveston introduce the Carnival Jubilee. That was on December 23rd, so it's an early Christmas Day present, yes. But once again, too, is we've got different cruise lines that are actually home porting in different areas too, which is great. And I know with Fort Lauderdale, originally with the cruise industry, I think I've shared this before, but with the cruise industry, originally cruises really started focusing on sailing out of Port Miami years ago. That's where the cruise industry in the U.S. really began. Then they started having some ships sail out of Port Everglades, which is in Fort Lauderdale. Then, of course, we saw more that started sailing out of Port Canaveral, which is an hour or so on the other side of Orlando. And then, of course, we saw some sailing out of Tampa, and of course, San Juan, Puerto Rico. Of course, the West Coast to California. We saw cruise ships, of course, with Alaska. They sail out of Vancouver. But what's good too is with Port Everglades, which is in Fort Lauderdale. They've been welcoming new ships, of course, and one I mentioned recently was they've been establishing itself as a new home port for Disney Cruise Line. And that's really, really good too, because once again, they're seeing more luxury cruise lines such as Viking, Ritz-Carlton, and shorter itineraries from Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, and Disney. And so far, the season, which started in October of 2023, Port Everglades welcomed first calls from Viking's expedition ships Viking, Taurus, and also Viking Polaris and Viking Mars, as well as Phoenix Reasons Artania, and also Disney Cruise Line is bringing its magic to Port Everglades, which is great. And I know that they're doing a partnership, and they got agreement with one ship that's going to be home ported in Port Everglades year-round. And then they just mentioned that they're going to have a second ship sailing out of Port Everglades. They haven't mentioned the ship yet, but it's going to start sailing out of Port Everglades year-round in 2025. Also, the Celebrity Ascent, which is their new ship, just christened on December 1st. I was on board the pre-christening cruise, but Celebrity Ascent actually debuted Port Everglades on December 1st of 2023, offering different sailings. And then she was named, of course, on December 1st, 2023, with her inaugural Caribbean season, including 7-night Eastern Western Caribbean itineraries. And the Celebrity Ascent is actually the fourth ship in the Celebrity Cruises Edge class ship. And she's one of 7 Celebrity cruise ships to really sail from Port Everglades this season, which is great. Also, as mentioned, the Silver Nova was just officially named, and it's actually done in Port Everglades. I'm sorry, Port Everglades, not Miami, but that just took place on January 4th yesterday. And she's the first ship to use liquefied natural gas and as its main fuel in Port Everglades, which is great. And also, I know that with Royal Caribbeans, their Symphony of the Sea ship is going to be shifting to Port Everglades after returning from Europe in November of 2023. She's going to start sailing out of Port Everglades, offering right now 8 and 6-night cruises to the Caribbean. Also, with Azamara, Azamara is a luxury cruise line, and what they're doing is they got their Azamara Onward, which just started sailing on November 30th of 2023. And she starts sailing out of Port Everglades, and she's going to finish her 2024 season at Port Everglades, and she's going to be offering different itineraries too. So that's kind of fun thing new to share too. Also, another cruise line is Crystal Cruises. What they do is Crystal Cruises have been around for a while. They unfortunately did go through some bankruptcy, but they got bought out by NK, which is great. And what they're doing is they've got their refurbished Crystal Serenity actually going to be home porting in Port Everglades in November this year. So November 2024 is when their Crystal Serenity, which has been completely refurbished, is going to start sailing out of Port Everglades. So it's getting kind of good to remember that there are options as far as where you can sail from. What's good too is you've got good airfare choices. You can fly into Miami or Port Everglades. Another option too is definitely keep in mind Brightline trains. Brightline trains, I had a chance to experience it myself on June 13th last year. I was attending a conference, but I went down a day previously before the conference started. Had a chance to experience Brightline trains from Miami up to Fort Lauderdale and then back. And it's a beautiful experience. It's fast speed trains. They're luxury, gorgeous trains. And it was just an amazing experience. One thing that's good too is they just expanded now. Brightline trains actually goes all the way up to Orlando, and then Orlando down to Miami, past Miami down further south. Plus, they're now they're working on some other avenues too, as far as Brightline trains, different areas of the country. And I tell you what, it's not like any other train experience. I mean, it's amazing. The seats were big leather seats. They had places to actually put your laptops. You could actually, big window views were beautiful, fast speed, but just gorgeous, brand new trains. It was such a luxury experience and just a great way, fast speed way to get between different places too. For instance, if you decided to maybe had a choice of flying into Fort Lauderdale, maybe less expensive than flying to Miami, you can actually take Brightline trains to go down to Miami and they get to the port that way. Also, now the options of Brightline trains now going up to Orlando, which is great because once again, with Port Canaveral being maybe an hour or so east of the actual Orlando airport, is another option to think about too. Or for instance, maybe if you want to go to Orlando first for a couple of days and have some fun time, maybe at Disney World, different places, you could actually then take Brightline train to get you from Orlando down to Fort Lauderdale, Port Everglades, or Port Miami, and do that way too. So definitely keep that in mind too, because Brightline trains is just an amazing experience. I'm so glad I had a chance to experience it myself too. It really brings a whole dimension as far as taking train transportation. It's not like anything you're going to ever experience. I was just absolutely amazed and so glad I had a chance to experience it myself. I wrote about it when I came back, and I love what the expansion they're doing too, because once again, it's fast speed trains and once again, beautiful areas, and you really, really can relax and enjoy. Also, not having to worry about trying to take a short flight, because sometimes flying can be a little bit of a challenge, though we've not had issues now like we had the previous year in different meltdowns. But what's good too is with Brightline trains, definitely look them up because it's a great experience to really enjoy taking a train ride, because it's not like just a regular train ride. I mean, seriously, I've taken trains to Chicago myself, and they're kind of boring and not really well kept, but this experience was just phenomenal. Very luxury, high speed trains are brand new. And the one thing that really, really stood out to me too was when you talk to the staff, people who work there for Brightlines on board the trains, but also just in their train station, which was gorgeous. The people that work for Brightline trains were just very, very happy. You could tell they got treated very, very well. So definitely think about Brightline trains if you're maybe thinking about taking a train. Maybe want to fly into Orlando, maybe spend some time there first, then maybe take a train down to Miami if you want to take a cruise to Miami, or maybe Fort Lauderdale, take a train to take a cruise out of Fort Lauderdale, Port Everglades. But definitely keep it in mind because it is just an amazing experience. And I went to the train station in Miami. It was amazing. It was like 3 levels, gorgeous places to eat, really, really fantastic options there too, and just beautiful. So definitely keep it in mind too. So definitely keep in mind with Brightline trains. They are growing in the U.S., which is great. I'll share more about that when I hear more about that too. But it's a great experience too. So definitely think about that too. Okay, Mark, any questions for me yet or not? So another new ship that I think I mentioned previous too is we've got Norwegian Cruise Lines. Their Norwegian Aqua is got to start sailing in 2025. It's actually their next evolution of their Prima class ships. And the Norwegian Aqua is going to actually debut in April of 2025. And I know she's going to be offering her first voyages are going to be in the Caribbean, 7-day itineraries departing from Port Canaveral. And also they're going to be offering calls to destinations including Puerto Plata, the Dominican Republic, Tortola, which is in the British Virgin Islands, St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands, also Great Stirrup Cay, which is their private island in the Bahamas. And it's really the first of Prima class ship series too, and she's offering some advancements, including their first hybrid coaster, also their 3-bedroom duplex suites. And once again, she's going to be debuting in April of 2025, so a little over a year away. But once again, with the Norwegian Cruise Lines, they do some phenomenal things, and definitely keep in mind this Prima class category ships that they're building right now to the Aqua, which is great. And it's really their next generation Prima class ship too. And the Aqua really is about focusing on the future of their brand. It's going to be the first ship in their Prima class, and she's going to showcase a really pretty, colorful hull. And it's actually being designed by the first female hull artist, Allison Human, and she's a world-renowned for her street art and also global brand collaborations, including work with Nike, L'Oreal, and Google. And I think what they're doing too, as far as the Norwegian Aqua's design, is going to be entitled "Where the Sky Meets the Sea," and it sounds really interesting too, because once again, with cruise lines, a lot of times they have different people that actually create the hulls, design the hulls of their ships, as far as how they actually design them. As far as the colors, and one that I had a chance to experience too was with, I think it was Norwegian Epic, I think, but what it was, they had Guy Harvey, that renowned marine biologist, actually designed the hull of that ship too. It was gorgeous. I met him on board the ship, which is great, the christening cruise. Also, they've got, I know with the Norwegian Aqua, she's going to actually debut the world's first hybrid roller coaster and water slide. Also, her Aqua Slider Coast. And they've got dual slides, also a magnetic lift that actually propels adventurous guests board 2 different courses. And also, I know that she's got, they've got a new Glow Court, which is a digital sports complex on board the ship. It's going to have an interactive LED floor. It's going to offer different interactive guest experiences, opportunities, and then transform into a nightclub during the evenings, which is great. Also, they've got one that's called the Drop. It's Norwegian Cruise Line's 10-story free fall slide. Okay, I don't know if I could be able to do that or not. Okay, a 10-story free fall slide. I don't think I would do that myself. Okay, but it's going to be the first one on board, including the Drop.
You're not gonna jump on that fall and just kind of like go falling down on the slide and joining all of that fun?
No, I'm not doing the Drop. Come on, 10 stories. I mean, it's very safe. Of course, the point is, when I heard about the term called the Drop, and they describe it as a 10-story free fall slide, I thought, okay, this is probably not on my list to do on board a ship. I will watch people do that. They'll survive. But I thought, I'm not doing it myself. No.
So you watch other people do it, but you're not going to do it yourself and everything.
Right.
So you're not going to be the one that's going to go on a cruise in order to bungee jump, because I do know that sometimes they'll have bungees on cruises as well. So you're not going to go bungee jumping on the cruise.
No, I'll stay on the ship. Okay. I mean, I take one thing that's really gorgeous too. Seriously, when I got a chance to be on the Celebrity Set pre-christening cruise, of course, they've got these beautiful tender boats, and it's amazing. I had a chance to be on the Celebrity Edge christening cruise a couple of years ago, but I tell you what, their tender boats are amazing, so comfortable, amazing. I mean, we sailed around the ship just to be able to experience it too. But once again, it was gorgeous because, once again, years ago when you first started taking cruises, a lot of times they could not actually have spaces to dock at the cruise ports. You had to tender in. And back then, their tender boats were not bad, but I tell you what, compared to what they were before in the 1990s to what they are now, especially with celebrity ships, it's just amazing. It's just amazing too. Yes. Yeah.
Sounds amazing. I was just wondering, what's your favorite cruise gift? Because I know some people just came back from cruising over the holidays, and sometimes they will get a something that is a representation of the cruise, because I know that all the cruise lines have their own like gift items, whether it's a ball or whether it's a maybe a towel, or maybe it's something else that they have with their name on it and all along those lines. So I was just wondering, what is the best celebrity or cruise trinket that you have gotten, whether it was on Celebrity or whether it was on Carnival or a number of the other cruise lines? So I was just wondering, what's the best toy that you got?
Well, I like getting ornaments.
Okay.
Christmas tree ornaments. I've got a couple that I've gotten at different cruise lines. I just like to buy. I mean, it's kind of like something that you kind of think about too as a Christmas tree ornament, but it's very special when you look at it later on.
Yep, and it can remind you of the trip that you took and all along those lines. So
Right,
if you
right,
get the ornaments, it can remind you of the trip and just have that whole memory of what the trip
right.
was like and all in that space.
Yes, yes. Yeah, because one thing that's kind of fun too is, and this is something that came up with celebrity, with actually with MSC Cruises too, is they're really big on having, they're calling these infinity pools. And with the infinity pools, you can actually, it's like I was on board. What they did was, I was on the, I think it was the Vina, but the infinity pool, what they did was they have a pool that's at the end, but once they get these window, I mean, they're kind of like window areas. So it's not like you have the end of the pool, and then you get off and you've got that area you walk off, but it's right there. One part you can actually see the ocean, but they got the big window walls. So it's very, very safe, but it's a beautiful way to relax there too. Because even though you're in a pool, you can actually watch the ocean from behind.
Yeah, that sounds like a wonderful thing. I just come out with a friend of mine and everything, and we'd actually stopped by a fast food restaurant, and they were telling me that they have gone on cruises and they couldn't understand it because there's all these fancy restaurants, but sometimes the fast food people are there as well. So they were wondering why is McDonald's and Burger King sometimes on a cruise ship and everything. But I just wanted your thoughts because I do know that sometimes there are some of those burger joints. Maybe it's not a McDonald's, but it is
No,
still.
but it's I know Guy Harvey. He has Guy
Hmm?
Burgers joints.
He did what?
Guy Harvey is, I think, no, not Guy Burger. It's Guy's Burger Joints. He's a
Oh
very,
wow.
very renowned chef. I can't remember his last name is, but Guy's Burger Joints. He's got a, I think, he's got different relationship. I think it was with Carnival. I have to check on that too, so I don't get that wrong. But Guy's Burger Joints and just different chefs and things too, which is great because they do different partnerships with the,
Yeah.
because I mentioned one first part of my show was actually with I know the Queen Anne, which is Cunard Line's new ship coming out. They've not built a new ship in probably 10 years. They
Right.
just did a partnership with Michel Roux.
Hmm.
I met him and I got his cookbook.
Oh, cool.
This is back in 2001.
Wow.
I was on Subway Cruises for a vacation and didn't know I was getting aboard the ship. He actually partnered with Subway Cruises when they first started, high-end Michelin chef. And he actually was on board. I got his cookbook, and it's called Desserts, A Lifelong Passion. But he autographed it for me too, which is great. It was just good to finally meet him because when I first started sailing on Subway Cruises, they partnered with Michel Roux as their top culinary chef, Michelin chef. But his cuisine was just amazing. But like I said, it was so good to finally meet him in
Oh,
person. And now he's working with Cunard Line and the Queen Anne.
well, he's working with them and doing some amazing things with them
Yes.
along those lines. And my friend had also asked me, and I said I would ask you if you wanted to get a discount on a cruise, what is the best way to get discounts? Because he was asking me, and I was going like, well, I guess you can go through people like my friend Cindy and travel agents and others, but sometimes people are not as economically savvy as other people are, and they might want a discount or find a way to get the uh, I won't say a cheaper ticket, but at least a more affordable ticket and all along those lines. So I was just wondering any discount tips that you might have for folks that are interested in going on cruising.
It's a good question because once again, I always tell people, I mean, book farther out, but also mention some statistics that Carl just announced earlier on this week. Because once again, what they did was they actually are one of the sponsors of the was it the New Year's Eve in
Mm-hmm.
New York, which is great. But then their CEO just mentioned some numbers. They're really, really been booking fast like crazy, which is great. They call things wave season. Okay, that's what's wave season when cruise lines offer discounts, but it's a way to get people thinking about taking a cruise, getting it booked. Because I really think it's best to book further out. Don't waste till last minute. It's important. Book further out and find a travel advisor. You can find them just, find a travel advisor because once again, they know the industry. Having been an advisor myself too, I'm not doing that anymore. But once again, working with a travel advisor really is a great way to get the best options for you. What fits you? What is your what you're looking to do? Maybe the size of the ship, the itineraries. because there's so many ships out there. I mean, look at all the ships we've got coming out this year, 10 years. I
Mhm.
mean, 10 ships coming out this year. I mean, for instance, if people are not maybe intimated to maybe do Icon of the Sea, it's the biggest ship ever built. It's a big. I mean, they're gonna do some great things. I mean, I'm not, but the thing is, kind of funny because when the cruise industry started building new ships years ago, I with Royal Caribbean, they actually built back then the world's largest cruise ship called the Sound of the Seas back, I think maybe in late 1980s, I think,
Yeah.
and it sold out like crazy. I had a group that wanted to get on Sound of the Seas. It was booked up for over a year. I finally got a chance to see it right after she came out, or before she came out. Got a chance to fly down to see it, but once again, it was the biggest cruise ship ever built. But the only thing is, with Royal Caribbean's Icon Seas, you could probably fit at least 4 Sound of Seas ships on Icon Seas.
Wow.
Yeah, but once again, some people want those. Some people want smaller ships. A good example, of course, would be with Explorer Journeys. It's luxury, but once again, you've got different options as far as even with Norwegian Cruise Lines, their ships are not really huge, which is great. Not that bigger ships are bad, but like I said, Celebrity Cruises, the Ascent was gorgeous. They did some beautiful areas as far as entertainment. I started sailing on Celebrity Cruises the first year they came out with the new ship back in 1990.
Mhm.
But what's good too is with the Celebrity Ascent, and I was on the Celebrity Edge, their Atrium area, they've got beautiful areas. It's like 3 or 4 levels, but they've got entertainment going on. And it was just beautiful. And the thing is, they had so many different options as far as small places to see shows. You still have the big theater, which is great, but once again, so many options. So I think there's more choices out there than ever before. So it's good to really talk to an expert, find out what you're looking for, what you want to do, where you want to go, and the size of the ship, and who's going with you.
Right.
Definitely.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense and everything. And like you said, and like we said on this show, there are some cruises that are more appealing to the young people. I know we showed a couple of the Disney cruises and some of the other
Right.
ones that are definitely targeting the young people. And we do know that some people, their pets are almost as much of their life as they are. So we do know that there are some cruise lines that are very much pet friendly and all along those lines. I guess
Right.
one of the questions that I was going to ask before we wrap up and that you can close out and all these things is I at my one of my other jobs, the cultural center that I work at, the young lady that's the manager was coming in and giving plants. So we do know that there are the ability to have animals on cruises and everything, but I was wondering what they do in the sense of plants in the room, or do they ever do anything with plants in the room, or does that add to the cruise decor, for lack of a better term, and everything? Because, like I said, I know she was putting plants in our office, and I was just wondering if on any of the cruises you went on, you saw them trying to make it feel a little bit more home-like by having some plant life in some of the rooms as well, or if they did, was it mostly artificial plants, or what kind of plant life did you see in terms of them trying to create that kind of aesthetics?
Good question. In my case, really, I don't think they put plants inside the rooms themselves. I
Mhm.
think that would be very, very careful. Once again, too, it's really gorgeous too. Is when you get on a ship, of course, the decor is gorgeous, and they got different decorations. So I think they use this more for the really places that people are going to be at. Like atrium areas, maybe
Right.
outside different areas too, but really not so much inside the staterooms themselves.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Well, like I said, I was running errands. I know you were doing that earlier, which is why I wasn't on as much as usual. But we'll be back with more exciting videos like usual next week and
Yes.
everything. But
Yeah.
I definitely want to pounce off so that you can close out and everything. But I just wanted to let you know that I was here, and we'll probably close out because I didn't get a chance to do many new videos. So we'll probably close out with Dr. Earl and with J Lo whenever you tell me to and everything. But I'm here to bounce
Okay,
off and let
that's
you.
good. Because once again, there's new ships coming out, which is exciting. And of course, Icon of the Seas being Kristen, of course, named on January 23rd. It's coming up shortly. And also, I know Sun Princess is coming out. There's Princess Cruises' new ship. And then, of course, with the Queen Anne, which is Cunard Line's new ship, first ship they built in about 10 years. But beautiful ships coming out. Explorer 2 is coming out later on this year. That's Explorer Journeys' newest ship, and different ships coming out. So definitely it just builds more excitement too, because once again, it's so many new ships that came out this past year in 2023. Celebrity Ascent was just absolutely gorgeous. As mentioned, it was on the pre-christening cruise. It was gorgeous, and definitely I want to go back and sail on it for vacation. It was gorgeous. And but different cruise lines offer so many different options for you too. So definitely keep in mind, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go as far as itineraries? I personally like, I want to go back to Alaska. Alaska was gorgeous. Another option, I love sailing out of San Juan, Puerto Rico, because you get a chance to really see more islands in the Southern Caribbean, which I really, really enjoy, which is fun. And also, I definitely want to try and do sometime, maybe this year, next year would be actually a river cruise over in Europe, which is great. So definitely keep those in mind, because it goes back to, I've been on a lot of different cruise lines for christenings, but also just for vacations. And I mean, I just, I tell people good ship happens. I like being on ships. It's very relaxing on the oceans, and the entertainment is included, and the dining options are phenomenal. It's just a way to really, really relax and enjoy the world, and see beautiful places too. And that, like I said, the point is the ship serves as your hotel, so you're not having to worry about hopping around hotel. So definitely keep that in mind. And then we can share more about different things coming out on next week's episode, Good Ship Happens. And Mark, if you want to go ahead and do the Dr. Sylvia Earle video, that would be great. She's fantastic. As mentioned, she was actually the godmother of the Explorer 1, which came out in 2023 in late summer. And she's an amazing person. She was a godmother, but just a great story. And once again, it's another example how MSC Foundation, the MSC Group, the foundation is really working on ways to really, really rebuild the coral reef and the oceans too. We need that more than ever. And cruise lines totally are working on that too.
I'm Dr. Sylvia Earle, a marine biologist, oceanographer, explorer, and I'm passionate about the protection of this blue planet. I grew up next to the ocean in the Gulf of Mexico, and I've witnessed how much the ocean has changed and how marine life has been endangered. But I know there is still time to help the ocean, which is why I was drawn to the Aponte family's sustainability mission. Explorer Journeys has a genuine ambition to connect people with the wonders of the sea, its marine life, its communities, spiritually, physically, and intellectually. We share the same values and have the same objectives to deepen people's relationship with the ocean, to explore, protect, and restore. Explorer Journeys calls it the ocean state of mind, a sensibility that will ensure the protection of this precious blue planet. Through my foundation, Mission Blue, we're working on ocean conservation, inspiring hope with champions across the world. Beginning with my extraordinary role as godmother to Explorer 1, we will be heralding a meaningful collaboration between myself, Mission Blue, and Explorer Journeys and the MSC Foundation towards preserving and restoring the world's oceans, the blue heart of the planet.
Hi, Richard. How you doing?
Ahoy, Jennifer. Lovely to see you. I'm so excited we're partnering on Virgin Voyages.
Yeah, I'm really excited too, but I was thinking that maybe before we announce it, that we should decide on my official title at Virgin Voyages.
Yes, and I already have a few options for you.
Okay.
What about something catchy like, "Don't be fooled by the ship that I got. I'm now Jenny from the dock."
Okay.
Dame Jennifer Lopez,
Isn't there like a paperwork and like a sword involved?
Supreme Goddess of Mermaids.
You know what? Let's just tackle the title thing later. I'm just excited to share our gorgeous ships with the whole world.
Okay, look, I'll brainstorm a little more and catch up soon on it. Mermaid in Manhattan?